Alrighty. It's my first time back in a long time on YouTube. So if you were here a long time ago, thank you for sticking around, I guess. If not, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Uh, my name is Josh. This is obviously Joshua Curtis 101. Today we're talking about the deck that I'm potentially bringing to the YCS 300 in Richmond. Uh, for those of you that were around earlier, I'm transitioning more into like Yu-Gi-Oh space. I just really have fun playing the game, and I kind of want to talk to about it. So here's the deck list. That is deck number one. This is all predicated on what I can get, obviously from Burst Protocol. Burst Protocol is a fantastic set that's coming out. If you're not well aware, I bet if you are watching this video, you're probably well aware. So we'll go over the card by card, the decisions on why I choose the things I do, and kind of what I hope the deck can do. So obviously we start off with the 3 Ash Blossoms. Well, we got the 2 Drolls. They went from 3 to 2 on the most recent ban list, and the 3 Charmies. I really want to put Nib in the main. I just can't justify it right now. I could if I take out like the Fallen of Elbaz from the main and like the Mag from the main and kind of throw those in there. That's kind of where I'm feeling at. I'm very like iffy on having Nib not in there, but I do perceive Draco Tail or a Draco Tail build being the number 1 deck of the format. So then, like, that's pretty much all the hand traps we got. We got the 3/5 metas, if you want to include those in hand traps, I guess. But they're more of an archetypal hand trap. We got the Luciuses. The Lucius is the starter of the deck. If you don't know what... After a little bit, I'll go over what each individual card is. I'm presuming that a lot of people know what these cards do already, though. Malulu, 1 Malulu, 1 Pan, 1 Frixel, and 1 Urgala. I am not in the mindset of having multiple of these big dragons. I think 1 and 1 is perfectly fine. A lot of people don't realize that these Draco Tail traps also grab from banishment. Grab from banish. So having 1 and 1 is fine. You just constantly recycle them. It doesn't matter. Then we get into the Elbaz stuff, where we have the 1 regular Fallen of Elbaz, 2 Fallen of the White Dragons, and then 1 Incredible Ecclesia. Incredible Ecclesia, it has to be that, and then the 1 Blazing Cartesia as well. That's kind of the branded package, plus the branded fusion, the Fallen Virtuous. Fallen Virtuous is kind of like, do you really include that in the branded package? We have my favorite part of the deck, though, these 5 cards. Crowley, the Gifted Magistus, the 3 Spentas, I know this website has not updated it from Spoon to Spenta, and the 1 of Zoroa, the Magistus of Flame. Then we have the branded fusions, the 1 Ketu, the 3 Wahus, the traps, pretty standard on the rest of the build. What I'm hoping to try to do with this deck is set up so much interactions that it's hard to fight through if I am fusion locked. If I'm not fusion locked, I'm trying to kind of flood you out of the game. Flooding out of the game is very simple in this deck. You can do it either with the Zoroa and the Spenta, or you can just do it with the Fallen of White Dragon by itself. That with the Incredible Ecclesia, this is very easy to do. So I am actually going to hopefully get a good hand to kind of show you the idea of that. We will just put these into the deck, and I will show you kind of the basic line of what you would want. So let's say you start off with the Fallen of the White Dragon. Where you at? Right here? Let's say to the hand. You start them off. You can either normal or special. You're probably going to want a special. So sending Albion to the grave. Special summoning. Doesn't really matter in attack or defense. And then declaring his effect to special summon. This does lock you into level 8 fusion or synchros. That is kind of the trade-off for it. But you can go two ways, which I think is really cool in this build. And the reason why I said the Spenta, the Zeroa, and the Crowley is my favorite part of this deck. I could go into Zeroa, the Magistus Conflagrant Calamity. This, because he's a level 8, this doesn't lock you into the branded stuff. On summon, he will equip a Magistus card from extra deck. So, you go and you equip, you probably equip Artemis here. And this is all off of that one. So now, he has the passive effect, if you look right here, that your opponent cannot activate effects of the same card types of Magistus monsters. So even if I end on this, whoever I'm playing against cannot use Link monsters. Can't use them. They're irrelevant. They're gone. But we can declare the effect to add a card. Now, what would you want to add? You'd want to add Spenta to your hand. Spoon, in this case. Because it still hasn't updated for the new name. This card is so good. You send it to the graveyard to add a guy. You add any Magistus. Depending on your setup, you might want to add Crowley, but in this case, let's just add Zeroa. Okay, cool. You go normal summon Zeroa. Zeroa effect declaring him and targeting himself. So what he does is he's going to equip a Magistus monster from your extra deck. And then if he becomes, he's going to equip a Magistus monster to a Magistus card you control, whatever you targeted. You always do want to target himself because of this second effect. You can special summon a level 4 spellcaster from your hand or graveyard in defense. Its effects are negated, but you don't really care because he's a level 4 tuner. So you would equip whatever you want. In this case, we only have one other. We have two other Magistuses. You would probably want to equip the Xyz. So, let's special summon it, because we have to, and move it to the back row. And then his secondary effect will turn on, where you can either summon Incredible Ecclesia in this factor, if you have, but why would you? She's a tuner. So you would special summon back out Spenta. Pretty solid here. Now your opponent can activate Xyz or Links. That's pretty good. You would then synchro these away. You could then synchro these away pretty solidly by to the grave. This will also leave into Ecclesia. Ecclesia will then allow you to go and grab, by banishing her, will allow you to go and grab where you're at, Blazing Cartesia. This is the setup based on that one banish, but it's not even done. Say you're worried about them going into Canine package, you banish your Spenta to re-equip the Xyz. Now they're locked out of Links and Xyz, and that's all off of just one card. That's just off of the Fallen of the White Dragon, where you have Blazing Cartesia, and you would have Ecclesia the Black Dragon. I think it becomes Ecclesia the Dark Dragon in the translation. Where you'll have this as your end board. And you would still have presumably cards in hand, obviously. So let's say, what was that? I used one card, so let's draw 1, 2, 3, 4. I've normal summoned, but I could then go Rahu into full Draco Tail combo. The branded fusion is kind of dead here, though. But you could go Rahu into that, which I will show you that. Bam. Sending the Lucaeus and sending pretty much whatever you would want. Would you want the Revive? But no, you don't. You don't have any fusions on the field, so Pan is not the choice. I'd always recommend sending 5 mana. Not to the hand, my bad. Sending 5 mana to the grave. And you can choose here if you want to have the pop, because now you're going to get the 2 traps set as well. Or do you want the 5 mana for follow-up, because you will have a spellcaster and a dragon to go into a Secretariat. That's kind of the idea of the deck. High end, I'll show you kind of like what the high end, that's if you only draw that one of card. If you draw the perfect hand, the absolute perfect hand, you will end on something like Zoroa, you'll end on Conflagrant Calamity, equipped with Artemis, equipped with the spell with the Xyz, my bad, and equipped with another monster, probably a Zoroa or a Crowley. So let's just grab one of them. Let's just say it's Crowley, something like that, along with like the flame that is here and a sting. You would then get probably an Arthelion. The Arthelion would be in the grave in this situation. And you could potentially, however high roll you get this with Blazing Cartesia. This is kind of the highest roll of high roll the deck can produce. What does this do? A lot of, like, if you're looking at this, you're wondering, what does this do? Like I said, this locks you out of now Xyz and Lynx. Pretty good. Zoroa, the Verthrogna, he can negate a monster effect and then non-targeting pop a card by sending a Magistus monster card. Not a card treated as a monster card specifically. So you can activate him, and you want to send the Crowley Gifted Magistus to keep this floodgate online. Obviously, with this, you are able to special summon Fallen of Elbaz from your deck or graveyard to also have a fusion. You have the Blazing Cartesia as a fusion. You'll have these bounces and a Arthelion to come back if you send 2 or more monsters to the graveyard at the same time. That's where it's really cool at. That's why I think the deck really hinges on these Magistus cards. I think these Magistus cards pull so much weight in this deck, and people really need to respect it. Let's look at the sideboard. The sideboard, we have a couple Bishdeals. That's just basically to go after Yummy. That's going first. You can argue that's going first and whatnot. Like, you don't need the Charmies going first. If a deck doesn't really care that much about Drolls, obviously you take them out. Ghost Bells, what more do we have to say? The Purulias, if they're more of a hand summoning deck, throw them in there. Nibs, I think Nib is still really good. There's only really one deck that it doesn't hit, and that's Draco Tail. Imperms, I think, are really strong in the upcoming format. Better than Effect Veiler in this deck. Yeah, I was going back and forth with that. And then the one of Skill Drain for going first. This is a weird choice. I think Skill Drain in this deck is really good. Because you'll end on 29, like, minimum attack is a Dark Magician with 2,500 attack. But more than likely, you're ending on a 2,900 attack with 3,000, multiple 3,000s. You would get this opportunity banishing for cost to special summon, so it dodges that to just bring out people on board. This right here is when he's fusion summoned, he gains the attack. So it's not like an effect that's activated. It's part of his summoning mechanic, I believe. So he will just be a big guy. The reason why the Jizakuru is in here is just because he's a kaiju. He has the highest star value of any kaijus. You throw him in there, you branded fusion him out, you're able to bounce him back with an Arthelion, and then kaiju your opponent's Lunalite board. This board, because it doesn't put up a big attack monster guy, kind of is bad against Lunalite. So you need to have outs for it. That's why Titaniclad is here. That's why Jizakuru is here. Sending even sending Nib with for a branded fusion with Titaniclad gets over it. So like that, they serve the same purpose. This is just more if they have 2 towers out. And that's kind of deck number 1. We'll go through the extra deck. You got the one of Albion. You got the Sanctifier Dragon. I'm kind of iffy on Sanctifier. I know why he's there to revive the Fallen of Albaz, or you can revive even Malulu, or Lucaeus, or Frixel to kind of get back into your Draco Tail place. So it's really, really strong in that sense. You got the 3 of Arthelion, you got the 1 of Gumel, you got the Lubellion. I think Lubellion is very, very strong as well. Sending away like your Malulu to get that in rotation. It's very, very good. Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade is the one spot where I'm not sure if I want to have Mirror Jade. This could also be Dragon that Devours the Dogma. So this one is kind of a little bit iffy. Secretarian, I think that's staying in no matter what. Titaniclad is your out to Liger Dancers. Verathogna, Ecclesia, the Conflagrant Calamity, the Magistus Glass Goddess. She's really here just as an Xyz to kind of lock them out. It does have an effect to detach to target a level 4 low spellcaster to revive it. This is kind of really hard to get off. If you are able to, you can recycle your Ecclesia, you can recycle your Cartesia, or you can even recycle your Lucaeus or Zoroa. So it's pretty good, and then Artemis as your Link 1 to add a Magistus card from deck to hand, while also being a pretty good Link 1. That's deck 1. That's if I high roll everything at the openings that I get for Burst Protocol. I would need to get these 3 Spentas, these 2 Fallen of White Dragons, and an Ecclesia. If I don't get that, I have a second deck. The second deck I have is pretty much the same. These a couple differences. Obviously, I'm not running the Fallen of White Dragon package, so it's a little bit changed. Not so much in the main deck. Obviously, we put in the Nibiru's, because I don't need the Incredible Ecclesia, and I don't need the Fallen of White Dragons. I don't have them. So we put in Nibs, and we put in the Perulias in the main. The Perulias are going to be flip-flopping whether they are in the main or not. That is kind of an interesting choice. Not necessarily sure what I want to do with that. I don't know why Thunder King is in here. That would be switched out for Jizakuru. This was an older build, obviously. But the Bestials remain in the same. In this build, I am siding in a second Pan, because it kind of does work really well off a branded fusion, sending it to the Titaniclad. It is pretty solid in that sense, getting a monster pop, while also getting a set for your Draco Tail lines. The 3 Ghost Spells, those are pretty mainstay. The 3 Imperms, like I said last time. In this one, we have Evenlies. Evenlies are, I think, going to come up really, really good in this upcoming format. I'd be heavily watching out for them. And then 2 Fenrirs. Could go with 3 Fenrirs. I prefer 2. It's an extra body. It's a very good going first card. The extra deck is a little bit wonkier. As you can see, this one has Varam, I should say. Varam, he's basically here as a synchro for the Conflagrant Calamity. Going into Varam and equipping kind of shuts down Yummy. I don't personally think Yummy is going to be that much of a factor with the limiting of Snatchy, but we will see. And this, like, even Varam might show up in the other list. I'm trying to more or less testing it out right now, even though we're getting close to the 300th. We threw in Typhon. I love Typhon. I think Typhon is one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! He gives you a chance to win in games. I know a lot of people joke about his win rate, how it's really, really low, and you can't, like, when he summons, that means your game is lost. Generally speaking, when he's summoned, you're probably losing anyways. You're going to lose that game. What he does is he takes like 5% of just automatically losing games, 5%, and brings you back into it. That's where he kind of sits, and that's why I really like him. The other two changes for the deck from this one, from the last one, is we got Chorizo. Chorizo, he is here primarily as a fusion for the Zoroa, but it's also a pretty decent effect. It's also a level 4 tuner, so I could use him to go into this stuff, which is very, very cool. The next one is one of my favorite cards. It's kind of more difficult to pull off in this build, but it is Invoke Caliga. If I am able to set up, which I was able to do at YCS Pittsburgh, and I bubbled out a day 2, because I played 2 passive. I won't play passive this time. But Caliga paired with Zoroa, the Magistus Verthragna, if they don't have an Imperm, you are sitting so pretty. Like I said, though, Evenly is going to be a factor, but so that will be main 2, where you'll have enough resources to combat them. I think this saying each player can only attempt to activate, so if something happens, like I'm not running them in this, but if I have like a Solemn or something like that, that negates the activation, where it says, well, I didn't activate it, so I can activate it again. This one says you can only attempt to activate that once per turn. So it's not a restriction on the game state, it's more of a restriction on the player, and attack with 1 monster during battle phase. If I get him set up with the Verthragna with an equip, that is the key to this version of the deck. That's what I really like about this deck. It's very easy to get to, you just basically, it's kind of harder to get to. With Spenta being in the deck, it makes it much easier, but it is still very kind of, you have to high roll for it. If you get that set up, each player can only activate 1 monster effect. You'll have your 3 traps, so you're basically putting on a Floodgate with 3 traps and a Monster Negate plus a pop. You are sitting very pretty. And that's kind of the ideas of the deck. And the way to get, in the older way to get them out, which you can still do in both versions of the deck, depending on what your hand is. You would just normal summon your Lucaeus, you would link it off, then go Rahu into your Arthelion. You would fuse the Arthelion with the Artemis to make Verthragna. Verthragna equip the Artemis. Artemis will grab Crowley, Crowley summon, and then if you have a Dark in hand, you can then make Caliga. That's kind of the ideas around it. That's very high rolly. You need to have, you can't do it if you have Branded Fusion, because that locks you into just fusioning. So it just kind of depends on what you're doing. I think that these kind of decks are very good, very fun for the game. I think that Caliga is one of the most fair floodgates, because to get Caliga online, I would need you to not interact with me. I would need there to not be a Droll. I would need there not to be an Ash. I would need not to be a Ghost Ogre or an Effect Veiler or any of those to pop up, or an Imperm or anything. If one of those happens at any point in that combo, like I showed you, the Lucaeus to the Link 1 to the Fuse to Rahu, then to Fuse into Verthragna to equip, if you wait for the equip and the activation to add, I can't send that away. So Crowley is kind of just sitting there. I can't get to him. I would just end on a Monster Negate plus a couple traps, which is very, very strong. However, it's not the end board that you would want. You can do that in this deck. You can also, if I threw in Caliga in this one, I could also do it here. That's why I'm still iffy on the LB on the Sanctifier Dragon. I really want to put Caliga in that spot, and I really would like to put in Dragon that Devours the Dogma in this slot. However, it's kind of hard to justify either or. Mirror Jade is kind of a better boss monster than Dragon that Devours the Dogma. However, the Dragon that Devours the Dogma does have that unsummon effect to shuffle things back. So, he might be better, but he's just a guy pretty much at the end of the day where it doesn't have an effect. At least this one has two effects. Banishing a monster on the field and blowing up the field if he is off the field. I think that these two decks... I think a version of Draco Tail is probably going to win the YCS. And I think that this version specifically, the extra deck, the side can be adjusted and all that. But I think the main deck of this is the best build of Draco Tail going forward. Having the ability to pivot between either the Magistus line and the Branded line, while also keeping the Draco Tail line, is very, very fun and very ingenuitive. That you can pivot to whatever you need. But yeah, that's kind of the first step in the road to Richmond. Coming up in the future, I am hopefully getting some test games in with some people recording that and uploading them as well. But this is Road to Richmond Part 1. I will see you back at Part 2. So thanks for stopping by. Give it a like, give it a comment, give me a subscribe if you want. Leave suggestions down there for the extras, for the sides, for the main. If you're looking at anything, if you want me to go over other decks that I'm currently playing or considering, I will also go over those. Just leave a comment and like and subscribe. Thanks, and peace.